Hey everybody, it's Kevin, and today I want to take you through a breakdown of the Toll of the Bells RTT I played in this weekend. It's put on by Pandemonium Games over in Garden City, Michigan, in collaboration with Mittenhammer, one of the organizations that does a lot of stuff in the Southeast Michigan area here with Warhammer. So let's jump right into it. It was a 30-person event, 2,000 point armies, 3 rounds. It was live streamed, and that's something they started doing since the end of 10th edition here. There's a group called Deep Strike Studios that comes in. They've got a really nice streaming setup, probably the nicest, the most sophisticated one I've seen, even compared to the GTs or any of the ones I've gone to. So really nice. I'll put a link to them in the description if you want to go check it out. Appreciate those guys coming in and doing that. A really good venue, really good terrain, really good tables. It's nice, clean place. I like it. Nice people. So, if you're in the area, you want to play some games, come check it out. They're doing these once a month now, and they have a GT that's coming up too. So I'll be getting down there and playing in that as well. In terms of disposition representation, you can see Take and Hold dominated. It was about 43% of the 30 players. There were a total of 18 armies in total that played. Pretty good, diverse group of players and armies represented there. Take and Hold, as I said, did dominate, but Recon and Priority Assets were next. Combined, they made up as much as Take and Hold, and then there were 3 players that brought Purge. Nobody showed up with Disruption, and I guess that's not a super huge surprise. It's a difficult one. It's very challenging. It takes a really solid player to make sure you don't get yourself in trouble, but you can see Take and Hold seemed to be a favorite among the players here. Breaking it down by the armies that were there, you can see Guard. We had 3 players with that. Blood Angels, Death Guard, and Space Marines all had 3 players. And then you get into some of the other ones that, Necrons, Space Marines, and Thousand Suns each had 2 players. And then we had a spattering of different armies. I was bringing my Tyranids list. I was playing on Vanguard Onslaught and Ambush Predators with Recon. It's one I played a lot recently. I really like it. It's fast. I like the mobility of it. I think it's pretty good at scoring. As far as Recon goes, I'm pretty happy with it. It's almost, it's not quite like playing an Eldar or an Elves out list, but it's got some of that movement with the advance and charge, fallback charge, and things. So I was pretty happy with it overall. As far as the performance, now these aren't weighted for the number of players or anything like that, but in terms of the overall win rate, Orks and Black Templars, both a 100% win rate on that. Each of those only had 1 player on them. Necrons did pretty well. They had a 4-1 record overall. So there was a game that was dropped with one of those players, and we did have a loss. So that might have skewed it a little bit, but they still did pretty solid. Tyranids, that was the army I was bringing. I ended up going 2-1 on this event. And then you can see it quite a few armies did. Down at the bottom, Space Marines, Blood Angels, as we saw, they were highly represented. They did struggle in this one, it looks like. So out of the 18 total games that were represented from the 6 players that brought these 2 armies, they only had 3 wins. It was a rougher weekend for Space Marines, but we'll see. They seem like they've got some good news coming down here with the updated toughness and things that are coming. So we'll see how that changes in the future. Looking at the top winners of this event, first place went to Lance with his Death Guard on Priority Assets. This was pretty awesome because this is his first time playing this army. Usually he's a World Eaters player, and I've played him in the past. Did great this time, so congratulations, dude. Really, really strong performance. You can see out of the top 4 places, they all went 3-0 in this event. So a lot of strong wins here. Next up was Rick with his Orks and Take and Hold. I played him in my last game, and he beat me handily on that one. That's a tough list, and he's a very strong player. Next up, also Jeff, very strong player with his Thousand Suns on Take and Hold, and then Steven, Black Templars with Take and Hold again. So out of the top 4, 3 of them with Take and Hold, probably not too surprising. Going down to the next 4 after that, we had Death Guard again, so again with Take and Hold, and then we had a Guard with Recon, Emperor's Children on Recon, and then Tyranids on Recon. So as I said, I did come in 8th place with a 2-1 finish on this. So I want to take you a little bit through how it went with my particular games. You can see first up, I played against World Eaters. He was on Purge the Foe. Then I went into Death Guard, and he was playing on Priority Assets. And finally, I went into Orks, and they were doing Take and Hold. On the first game here, into the World Eaters, that puts me on Triangulation and him on Consecrate. I did manage to go first on this one, so you played it cagey is basically how I did here. The NIDs are not anything super strong. They're not super durable, especially when I'm playing with a bunch of Lictors, Von Ryan Leapers. So really, I'm relying on my speed. I guarded them up. hid them. I do have 2 units of Gene Stealers with Broodlords, which are kind of my hammer in this army. So I tried to stage them behind my Neurolictors. I will say with my army, one thing I really enjoy with this is the reactive move I'm able to put on the Neurolictors now with a D3+3. Lets me get them a little bit more aggressively staged, get the battle shocks in, take some objective primary and do the actions I need, but also get them out of the way. And it makes it a difficult charge, or makes it difficult for them to shoot me because I do have a strat for lone op 6 on them, and if I can get even guaranteed 4 inches further away, it makes it really nice to try to keep them alive. He came out, drew some secondaries that really didn't suit him very well, and I was able to just scoop back a little bit to keep farthest back from him so he couldn't get any kills right away and start doing consecrate and adding those points up over time. I think that really paid off in the long run here. As we started going on, he moved up some of his shooting line, and I dropped in the back and brought in my Raveners. I did also do quite a few battle shocks throughout here that took him off objectives and really put him in a tough spot. So he was unable to really get in and do a lot of damage to me on the first two rounds. I got into him with my Raveners as well as my Death Leaper, brought in my red Terror, and was able to do a lot of damage on one side of the table and kind of clear that out. And from there, he's really had not a lot left to do other than bring up his Defiler and try to see if he could blast me in the center. I had put in the center my Swarm Lord, I had a Lictor, a Neurolictor, and I think I had the remnants of of a Gene Stealer group that I had there. So several units for me to help protect that. He did send that up, and from there I was able to get into him and ultimately kill him. From there, it ended up coming out to a final score of 100 to 46. Next up, I went into Death Guard. He was playing on priority. So he was able to deploy first. So he brought out his Poxwalkers, blocked out a lot of the center area, kept me from using my scouts with my Gene Stealers, and doing a lot of the more forward deployment stuff I would kind of normally try to do. But given he's pretty slow in this, it kept me, it's not the end of the world. I kind of wanted to be a little bit back anyway. So I staged him up with a lot of stuff here in the center. And then on the other side with my Gene Stealers, brought it up, was able to get my Von Ryan's Leapers and my Lictor into some of his Poxwalkers. And then in the center, do something similar with another set of Von Ryan's Leapers. They were able to, they kind of bounced off of him there. Those Poxwalkers are just little, they're a little tougher than you might expect. They do pretty well with their I guess that's a field note pain on there, and then they have 2 attacks each. They do some damage. So he dinged me a little bit on my Von Ryans. Nothing big. It was a little anticlimactic, but I didn't go too far into him on the other side of the board because I didn't want to get into his chaos spawn. I don't think the Von Ryans are going to do a whole lot of good there. They might do the damage, but it's with 3 attacks each, 3 of them, 9 attacks into them with the bouncing, the reflecting back the damage, and also having the feeling the pains and stuff. It was too much of a gamble. So I held on to that. From there, though, he brought out his Defiler, and I went full send into the center. There's really nothing in my army that is really strong anti-tank except maybe the Raveners with the hyper-adaptive Raveners. And so they were brought in. I didn't get them in. They failed their charge off there, but I got 2 units of Gene Stealers and a Death Leaper, and I think a Lictor, and some, and I also got some Von Ryan's Leapers that were also tied up with some of his other, I think Terminators over in the corner there. I did manage to destroy his Defiler, and I was able to, wreak some havoc on him over there and take all the objectives. So at this point, I was getting a lot of good primary and holding that area. He did then come in on the outer edges of the board, though, and had some strong shooting there that really left me in a little more tough position. I did fail a few charges at this point, which was kind of it was not good, but I was able to hold it. Unfortunately, we did end up running out of time on this game, so we only got, I think, into the, he got his last round there on the end of, I think it was 3 or 4, and then we ended it there. At the end of the game, it was 62-40, so I didn't manage to get all the points I wanted to get out of this game because of the time limit. I still got the win, and I think it was, I didn't get to use Shadows in the Warp here at all, but I think did manage to do what I needed to do. But another great game. Finally, on my last games, I went into the Orks. This one was on, layout C. He was doing take and hold to my recon. So I really had, this is one where for recon, it gives you engage on all fronts. And since he had a good number of characters in there, I tried my play where I went in with fixed on assassinate and engage on all fronts. That way I can just focus. But unfortunately, it was probably not a good idea. There was just too many models that are over in there, especially where you're doing search and destroy. Really kept me out of that corner. So it was hard for me to try to get something in there. I wasn't able to do it turn one. Maybe not too surprising, but even turn two, I wasn't able to do it until like turn three. So in retrospect, I shouldn't have done that. I did. I think the deployment was okay. I pushed my Death Leaper out into near his natural objective because he had Gazgul over there with a big unit, and I wanted to kind of pull him out. That seemed to work. In fact, I battle shocked him early. I think I did a turn two Shadow in the Warp, and it was pretty successful. And through the whole game, Gazgul never unbattle shocked, so that kept them from really scoring as much as they could have. I put then some units in the center, trying to get that, and then because I had to hold center to get some of my primaries, and then I sent a unit of Gene Stealers up to get his kill rig. I did kill that. It exploded and did a little bit of damage here, but nothing too crazy. Unfortunately, he just had too much there for me to come back and get it. This one, he came in, managed to kill off my Death Leaper and a lot of my other units there, and then he started to sweep up towards the other side of the board. At which point, he pretty much just swept over me. And so at the end, I think he tabled me there, end of three, except for I had my Red Terror off the board. So I came in my fourth turn, I think it was. I sent it into he at that point he was up on my expansion objective, and he still had some characters in that unit. So I sent the Red Terror in there and attacked him as he was moving up to that. Got a little bit more points, and that was about all she wrote for that. So it ended up being 58 to 100, his win. I really shouldn't have taken the fixed. I should have played a little more conservatively there. For sure, Orks are a tough army, and I think, no excuses. They're just hard. They're a hard one for Nids to play into, and they're strong right now. So that's about it for me. That's all we had for this week, and I think it was a really good event. I'd really encourage anybody to go check it out if you want to, and be sure to like and subscribe if you're liking this stuff. I really appreciate it. It helps us. And also make sure you get down there and comment. Let me know what you'd like to see for the channel in the future. I'm trying out different things, but I really want to, see what everybody's interested in. And if you have any other ideas about how I might analyze some of this stuff or other things I might look into, let me know. And I'm happy to do it. So until next time.